Welcome back. Former Trump advisor Roger Stone vowing to fight a 7-count indictment from special counsel Robert Mueller. The charges include lying to Congress, witness tampering, and obstruction related to his alleged contact with WikiLeaks and the publishing of stolen Democratic emails. Joining me right now from the World Ag Expo in Tulare, California, is Congressman Devin Nunes, the ranking member on the House Intel Committee. And Congressman, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Great to be back with you this morning.
Well, I want to get your reaction to the Stone indictment, in particular because the special counsel charged Stone with lying to your committee in 2017, the House Intel Committee, about his interactions in 2016. Your reaction?
Well, for 2 years, our committee has been mocked by the left and the media as not a serious investigation. Yet, if you look at the indictments of the Russian actors, those came from our committee, that stuff that the Republicans found. Now you look at Roger Stone. Roger Stone is kind of an odd political figure. He's one of these flamboyant guys who runs around and is kind of a press guy, kind of this type of guy, says a lot of things, and hangs out with some very scurrilous people. However, I think the Mueller investigation is really at the bottom of the barrel when they're looking at people like this, because we already found in our report that Roger Stone wasn't colluding with the Russians, which that was the original intent of all this. Remember, supposedly Trump campaign operatives, so-called, were colluding with Russians. They must be embarrassed that they actually have to come to House Republicans in order to have us give them the information, the transcript, so that they go and get Roger Stone on a process foul that occurred in 2017 that Roger Stone himself is going to fight. The process of discovery is going to be fascinating in this case, and I can't wait to watch it.
Well, look, in testimony last summer to congressional investigators, Bruce Orr from the Department of Justice revealed that the FBI and justice lawyers were warned about a series of contacts, were warned that the dossier that they were using to get a wiretap on Carter Page was paid for by the Clinton campaign and the Democrats. This very important piece of information has not been focused on at all. Let me ask you about that, because the redacted version of the FISA application released shows the FBI did not mention a connection to the DNC or Clinton.
Yeah, so this is the mainstream media for the last couple weeks, and the left have been ignoring this. I think so. Let me try to walk people through real quickly, if you allow me. So why is this significant? It's significant because for the last 2 years, through press reports and through testimony to Congress, the FBI, DOJ, top leaders have continued to say that they did not have the Steele dossier, the Clinton and Democratic paid-for dirt. They didn't have this until September, October. They weren't sure when they got it. We know now when they got it. So remember, at the end of July, they open up an investigation, end of July of 2016, in the middle of a campaign. They use the intelligence services in this country, and they target the Trump campaign at the end of July. At the same time, Bruce Orr, the top career official in the Department of Justice, is acting like some kind of secret agent, meeting with this Clinton Oppo guy, okay, who's digging up dirt. He's meeting, taking custody of this information, feeding it directly into the FBI and DOJ. So I'm happy that now DOJ is going to take seriously lying to Congress. They're going to go after Roger Stone for lying to Congress and obstructing a congressional investigation. They need to start with themselves. They need to start with the former leadership of the Department of Justice and the FBI. If I were them, if you want to see lying to Congress, I would start with Strzok and Page, two of the investigators that were fired, who hated Trump, did not want to see him elected. And I would also go after the top leadership of the FBI and DOJ at the time.
But isn't it true that two of the members from the FBI who were involved in this counterintelligence investigation into Trump, based on unverified and salacious information from this dossier, now those two people work for Robert Mueller?
Oh, yes, Maria. Very good point that the media continues to ignore. So not only is it two of the people, well, first of all, there was four, two got fired, but one of them is actually the top person, the number two, the deputy, Mueller's deputy, that the press and the left calls the attack dog, the pit bull.
Andrew Weissman.
This is a joke, okay? So yeah, this is a joke. We need to know what's in the scope memo, okay? Did these guys, did the two left, because the other two got fired, the two that left on the Mueller council, special counsel, were they involved in the chain of custody of this information? Because they were involved. They got the information from Bruce Orr. Did they disclose this to the FBI? Because remember, let me make the major point. None of this was disclosed to the FISA court when they went and spied on the Trump campaign using these very sophisticated tools that we have in our arsenal that are supposed to target terrorists and other bad guys. They use to target a political campaign operative, okay, on the Trump campaign using this dirt. These people were all in the chain of custody of this information. It's absolutely ludicrous. So look, if this doesn't get solved, here's what's happening, Maria.
Yeah.
Here's what's happening. If the Department of Justice and the FBI do not go after and prosecute these people for lying to Congress, if they don't clean up their act and actually get down to really, are you going to find Russian collusion or are you not with Trump, because you haven't found any yet, are you going to go after the Clinton campaign for colluding with Russians? Is anyone going to do that at the Department of Justice, FBI? We have to have a Department of Justice and FBI in this country that 99.9% of Americans have trust and confidence in, that they're impartial, that they're not going to be political.
Will William Barr do it, the incoming AG? Will Robert Mueller investigate this within his special counsel report?
Well, Mueller definitely won't do it. I mean, they're so tainted already by this. I can't imagine that they would.
What about Bill Barr,
let's not forget.
AG? Where's the accountability, Congressman?
I don't know if Bill Barr will. I hope so. I hope Bill Barr will do it. But remember, our investigation is not over. The walls, we continue every day to get more and more information. The walls continue to close in. Let me mention something else that I think is very important.
Real quick.
We don't even know what Mueller's doing. We haven't seen the scope memo. We don't know what he's been given to do, right? We don't know what he's supposed to be up to.
Right.
I think it's possible that the Steele dossier, the Clinton dirt, is what's in that scope memo that they refuse to make public to the American people and even refuse to brief Congress on.
Welcome back. We are back with California Congressman Devin Nunes, ranking member on the House Intelligence Committee. And Congressman, a moment ago, you said next week we will see more transcripts released. You said your investigation is ongoing. Will you be making criminal referrals?
Look, the goal of all this is to make sure that everyone's held accountable. So we will be taking all the information. We continue to I think the walls are closing in. We're getting closer and closer and closer to the people that need to be held responsible for this. Now, remember, we don't have a police force, okay? And the Republicans, we don't hold the gavels anymore, right, in the House. So all we can really do is refer people to the Department of Justice for prosecution. And for this to be investigated. So I'm hopeful that will happen with the new Attorney General, but we will continue to compile information, we will continue to conduct interviews, and we will continue to be transparent with the American people on this.
All right, and you said the scope memo is very important. Why is that so important that you see the scope memo, which basically tells us why they launched the special counsel investigation into Trump potential collusion?
Yeah, so if you remember when the special counsel was first named, there was no, when Rod Rosenstein and the Department of Justice had the first information that was put out, I don't even think it met the regs. So that was around April, May of 2017. You have to go all the way to August that they put another memo forward and gave direction to the special counsel. We have no idea what's in there, okay? I'm just speculating here, okay? But I believe it's very possible that they used uncorroborated information that came from the Clinton campaign, and that could be in there as part of what they told the special counsel to do, which would be a major, major problem. Look, and I don't know if it's in there or not, but I can't for the life of me understand Well, why would you not be public about this? We've had this special counsel now. It goes on and on and on. It never ends. They're getting people on process files. They put forth information that makes it look like it's nice storytelling.
Yeah.
Because when you read these indictments, it reads like a secret spy novel of all these characters hanging out with Russians. But the truth is, they're getting them for process files, and there's no evidence of collusion with Russians, except for the obvious people that were colluding with the Russians, which was the Clinton campaign and the Democrats.
Let me move on to another investigation that your committee has been all over, and that is into China and what China has been doing. We've been talking about this with you for a year. This most recent case, a spy case linked to China, raising red flags for now Poland, one of the U.S.'s very important allies. We've got a meeting this upcoming Wednesday between U.S. and Chinese officials that we could see a deal happen before March 1st deadline between U.S. and China. But the idea of espionage, IP theft, forced technology transfer. I spoke with Dr. Fang, who is one of the officials in China who oversees the financial services industry. Here's what he said when I asked him about a potential deal in terms of opening markets in China and other things. Listen to this.
Obviously, opening up the markets in China appears to be a priority for the Chinese leadership to the rest of the world.
Yes.
How much of a priority is the forced transfer of technology and IP theft?
I'm not an expert in this area. You know, we are against forced technology transfer, and IP theft, of course, is not something that we would like to see. I think we can sit down and talk about these things.
Would that be something as far as part of a deal with the United States that you would try to make progress on those issues?
You know, we are willing to talk to the United States on every issue that the U.S. raises. And our overall objective is to have, you know, a cooperative relations in economics as well as in other areas with the United States.
So where are we on all of this, Congressman? Because one fear among both Polish and U.S. officials is that China might have accessed Allied intelligence shared with Poland and then passed it on to Moscow.
Well, what I would say first is that congratulations to our allies. The Polish government, as you know, have been in a very difficult spot in the world, right on the Russian border. And for them to, with an emerging economy, a growing economy, for them to take on the Chinese juggernaut, hats off to them for taking this issue seriously. So what the Chinese are doing is that they have these companies that are essentially owned by the party, the Communist Party. And essentially, this is a dictatorship. There's very few people that own these companies. They weaponize them. So when all over the world, you have Chinese technology, specifically as it relates to infrastructure, on communications infrastructure. They'll go in and they beat every other company around the world. And in fact, they've driven a lot of companies out of business because they come in and undercut. Now, how is that possible? It's not possible. But they want to have control over all the comm systems, the communication systems all over the globe. And I think what the Poles realized was that they were coming in, doing that to the Polish infrastructure. And we need to make sure that all of our allies around the world are not using this Chinese technology until they're willing to be totally transparent and have multiple people looking over this technology.
Right, and that's why the CFO of Huawei was detained, and that's what you've said. You've talked to us a number of times on this program about what the Chinese are doing in African countries. We will take care of your whole telecom infrastructure, no problem, free of charge. We know nothing is free because they're tapping into your phone calls and your intelligence. Look, you just mentioned Russia. I also had a conversation with the General Secretary of NATO while I was in Davos last week, and here's what he said about NATO and the U.S.'s involvement along with our European friends. Watch this.
NATO is an alliance of 29 allies from both sides of the Atlantic, with different political parties in government, different history, different culture, and some are neighbors of Russia, some are not. So there are differences, there are disagreements, also, for instance, on energy issues. But the strength of NATO is that despite those differences, for instance, on this pipeline from Russia, we have always been able to unite in NATO around our core task, and that is that we protect and defend each other.
So I remember a couple of times ago when you were up on this program, Congressman, you called us from Georgia. And we were talking there, I was talking with Jens Stoltenberg about this pipeline that Germany is relying on from Russia. Why wouldn't Germany want to buy energy from the United States, now the #1 producer, rather than being vulnerable to Russia, given what we know about the Russians?
Well, with the current Russian aggression that's taking place all over the globe, and especially in Eastern Europe, it's amazing to me that the Germans have not figured this out. You know, after 2 world wars, after the Cold War, you'd think they would figure this out. They don't seem to care, which I think should bother everyone around the globe. The Germans are great allies of ours. They have a big economy, but yet we were just talking about Poland. Poland, Romania, and others realize that as long as the Russians and Putin are acting the way that they're acting, it is not okay for people within NATO to be striking deals that would make them reliant, totally reliant. That's the problem here, is if you become reliant on a dictatorship like the Putin regime, you really put yourself and you put all of Europe in a very bad position. So, you know, where does the gas need to come from? I think it needs to come from places like Central Asia, Azerbaijan, North Africa, and the United States. And, you know, I believe that Poland actually did already take in LNG, purchase LNG from the United States. So until Russia cleans up their act, we should not be putting in new pipelines at all, because it just goes to fund this radical regime.
Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Congressman Devin Nunes.